Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Check, check.
Check. Can you hear?
Halo, Mbak Yosa Melinda.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. Are you in the Germany right now or in Indonesia?
In Germany.
Oh, so it's still quite morning there.
Yeah, it's like 10:42, so it's close like 11 a.m. in here.
Oh, okay. But are you from Indonesia or
Yeah, I'm from
oh,
Indonesia.
dari mana, Mbak?
Aku dari Jakarta.
Oh, oke. Gimana Mbak ini di sana perkembangannya COVID and everything else?
Aduh, sebenarnya udah agak losing curve gitu sih mereka. Udah kayak lumayan orang-orang udah keluar gitu kan, tapi masih pakai masker dan segala macem. Cuman recently gara-gara kayak restoran dan pub bar buka lagi, sekarang naik lagi angkanya.
Oh, gini ya. Cuman
Iya,
kalau di sana kayaknya masih lebih lebih orang-orangnya masih lebih nurut dibanding di sini.
dibilang nurut sih nggak juga ya, cuman
Wah,
di sini tuh orang-orangnya aware dengan diri mereka sendiri gitu loh. Kalau bilang nurut mah
oke.
enggak gitu. Cuman kayak
Oh,
misalnya mereka udah ngerasa sakit atau apa, mereka tuh langsung kayak ngecek dirinya sendiri atau mereka pulang dari liburan misalnya. Tapi, mereka langsung melakukan tes untuk apakah mereka sakit atau enggak, kayak gitu sih lebih ke arah. Kayak awareness mereka lebih tinggi. Tapi ya kalau misalnya tertib ya enggak juga gitu.
oke.
Ada bagian yang makro.
Tapi menarik juga ya bagaimana ini kayak misalnya di Afrika Selatan itu mereka close all bars and also like mereka nggak jual segala bentuk alkohol untuk mengurangi selain interaksi orang-orang ketika di bar karena pasti kalau udah di bar gitu kita udah lupa physical distancing atau apa ya dan
Ya,
juga untuk mengurangi beban rumah sakit dari potensial violent induced by alcohol gitu.
iya sih, betul. Itu dia. Cuman kayaknya orang juga kayak stres kali ya di rumah, terus udah gitu social distancing. Ya namanya juga manusia ya butuh
Iya,
interaksi dengan manusia lain. Cuma masalahnya mereka kurang, um, apa sih, kalau udah masuk bar kurang aware aja gitu loh. Dan
iya.
kadang-kadang yang pemilik bar yang bergantung dengan bisnis mereka gitu kan, ya mau nggak mau losing a little bit the apa peraturannya kayak udahlah gitu loh, yang penting mereka dapat uang gitu loh, pemasukan, surviving gitu.
Iya sih, dan kayaknya juga kalau udah masuk bar gitu, kayaknya apalagi kalau udah minum berapa gitu, biasanya juga kita udah yang enaknya kan ngobrol deket-deketan, apalagi dengan berisiknya bar gitu kan, kalau mau nggak mau kalau ngobrol juga harus kadang deketin kepala gitu kan ya, memang
Nggak cuma di barjo doang loh, di
ya
kayak restoran juga udah gede kayak tempat makan aja, mereka nggak boleh masuk misalnya di depan aja mereka malah ngumpul gitu loh, take away-nya jadi tetap aja penuh gitu.
oke, jadi emang ini ya, kayaknya emang ya udah masuk masa-masa bosen juga sih kalau untuk tinggal di rumah. Aku ini juga posisi lagi di Jakarta gitu kan. Aku sih masih paling keluar hanya untuk ke kantor seminggu 2 kali dan itu cuma jalan kaki yang 3 menit aja. Terus yang selama 6 bulan ya hidup cuman kayak kantor, tempat tinggal, warung depan rumah tok.
Iya, jadinya bosen.
Ya, tapi ini Mbak Yosa udah mau aku panggilnya Yosa atau apa ini?
Yosa juga nggak apa-apa kok.
Ini udah mau selesai studinya atau masih
Aku udah mau selesai lagi ngurus tesis.
oh, oke. Good luck deh. Ini tantangannya mengerjakan tesis di tengah pandemi.
Aduh, stres banget. Lumayan.
Iya sih, beberapa temanku juga lagi mengerjakan tesis itu pada ini agak yang stres.
Mhm.
Karena nggak bisa ketemu temen, nggak bisa diskusi sama temen juga.
Um, ini mulai jam 15 menit lagi kan ya?
Iya, ya 14-an menit lagi, Mbak. Kalau mau misalkan ke toilet dulu atau ngambil sediain minum atau apa boleh.
Aku soalnya mau reread lagi, takut
Oke, oke.
fantasi.
Ya, ya
Gak apa-apa
boleh,
ya?
Wes. Ya,
Itu ya.
silakan. Silakan. Welcome, good afternoon, Miss Sania and also Mr. Dedi Kristanto.
Good afternoon, Mbak Nurma.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, selamat siang Mas Dedi. Ini Mas Dedi di mana ya posisi sekarang?
Saya sedang di Jogja.
Oh, di Jogja, oke.
Ya, sedang mudik.
Kemudian ada Mbak Sania, bisa mungkin kita tes suara terlebih dahulu, soundnya dan videonya.
Oh ya. Tapi nanti saya udah ada pre-recorded.
Oh iya, nggak apa-apa.
Oke.
Oke, nanti soalnya tetap ada sesi tanya jawab kan, jadi kita tes dulu aja. Oke.
Siap.
Oke. Kita akan memulai jam 4, jadi masih ada sekitar 8 menit lagi sambil menunggu yang lain bergabung.
Oke.
Suara saya jelas ya, Mbak? Is it clear?
Iya.
Okay.
Ya, Mas Dedi. Oke.
Test voice, is it clear?
Ya, is it
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
perfect?
Kajian kita paling bontot ini.
Iya, sesinya paling akhir, paling sore. Semoga semuanya masih bersemangat.
Yeah, it is still have energy to discuss about the
Ya,
right important thing or
yeah.
not important. I don't know.
I'm sure it will be interesting and worth to discuss all the problems. I mean, yeah, it's like women gender issue is like it's like 100 years problem, but it's still prevalent right now, like almost everywhere. And I think, yeah, and now we have a lot of cross-cutting issue about gender with religion,
Yeah.
with social media. I don't know. It's sometimes kind of more complicated. Yeah.
That's right. This cross-cutting issue also intersectional problem and how to
Yeah.
to find the solution also intersectional, not just a single method or perspective, something like that.
Yeah, we need a lot of perspective to solve
Yeah.
like one problem or yeah. Okay. Okay, since it's for already, we will start this session. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Especially for all the panelists and participants from Indonesia, and also good morning for Ms. Yusa, who is currently in Germany, and for other participants from other region, also good morning maybe, and then welcome to the Symposium on Social Science 2020 about rethinking the social world in the 21st century, especially in the panel on women and human rights issues, chapter 2. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Nurma Fitrianingrum, and today I'll be moderating this panel. Before we start the presentation session, first, please let me to explain several host rules for this online session. First, for all panelists, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking or presenting. And for other participants, please mute your microphone throughout the whole session, except you want to ask questions later in the Q&A session. And then while you are speaking, please make sure there is no background issue. And third, please, for the presentation session, it will be conducted in parallel. So for each panelist, you will have around 20 minutes presentation time, and I will privately message you in case 3 minutes before the end of your session, so you will have opportunity to wrap up your presentation. And after the panelists finishes their presentation, we will have a Q&A session for around half an hour. However, all participants can start asking questions earlier during the presentation session by writing the question on the chat or message feature. Before writing your question, please make sure you put your name first and then to whom the question is addressed. And then for all the panelists, please refrain to yourself from answering the question in the chat box, because we will have Q&A session for you to answer all the questions. And for today's panel session, we will be focusing on women and human rights issue, which is in a lot of places, women are still seen as second-class citizens, and as a consequence, their rights and needs are often forgotten, especially and including by the state's government. Today we will have we will have 4 panelists who will present their research finding on various social problems experienced particularly by women and the initiatives to overcome those challenges. We will see in the intersection of women's problem and rights with other issues such as health, poverty, economic empowerment, technology, child marriage, migrant workers, capitalism, and not only in Indonesian cases, but we will have also cases in Hong Kong. Today we will have 4 presentations, sorry. And first, let me introduce you shortly to all the panelists in this session. First, we will have Mas Dedi Kristanto from Enrich and Help for Domestic Workers, Hong Kong. He will be presenting about the sexualization of surplus value amongst the Indonesian migrant workers in Hong Kong. And then we will have Ms. Yosa Melinda Marcia, a master student of Southeast Asia study from Goethe University, Germany. She will be presenting about the impact of early marriages trend promoted by influencers in Indonesia toward child birth case in Indonesia. And then we will have Sri Penny Wastutiningsih, Ratih Inekewati, and Titis Puspitasari. They are all from the Extension and Communication Development Study Program Graduate School from Universitas Gadjah Mada. They will be presenting about empowerment of women based on improving family economic resistance in Giri Harjo. Giri Harjo is a rural region in Yogyakarta. And then last but not least, we will have Made Sania Saraswati from Yayasan Kopernik Indonesia. She will be presenting about the leveraging locally reusable menstrual pads to improve menstrual health management in East Nusa Tenggara, the Perfect Fit initiative. So without further ado, we will begin the first presentation session. First, we will be having Mas Dedi Kristanto. So for Mas Dedi, the screen is yours. You will be having 20 minutes. You can unmute yourself. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Nurma, for the time. I would like to present, good evening everybody, and hope that all of us in health and happy condition. Okay, is this clear for my voice?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. My title presentation is about the sexualization of sexual value among the Indonesian migrant workers in Hong Kong. It is a part of the quote-unquote draft of my proposal dissertation. So it is just, of course, I would like to need a feedback from the participant about my presentation. It's very helpful for me. Okay. The next one, the next slide. My structure of presentation is like a basis different. So this is, I would like to start from the abstract. The economic contribution of Indonesian migrant workers is very significant and certain for Indonesia. Indonesian migrant workers working in placement countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, and Hong Kong contributed 9.8% or 1.1 billion US dollar of Indonesian total remittance income of 11.2 billion US dollar in 2018. Hong Kong is one of the countries, the biggest user of migrant domestic workers, received a GDP contribution of US 2.6 billion US dollar of the total from the migrant domestic worker and the value of care. However, the value of care of the migrant domestic workers has not been seen as a determinant factor in economic growth. Migrant domestic workers still classified as second-class citizens. Many migrant domestic workers, including Indonesian migrant workers, sorry, there is something wrong with, including Indonesian migrant workers, are entangled in debt problem from various money lenders. This article aims to further understand Indonesian migrant worker position as the place of mother, quote unquote, in the capitalistic masculine economic system. Specifically, it wants to explore Indonesian migrant workers' unconsciousness in deciding to owe money lender. In the longing of the debt problem, it appeared that Indonesian migrant workers' body, quote unquote, continues to be utilized as the backbone of the family and contribute to the country's economy. But at the same time, their bodies are seen as not there. How does the capitalistic masculine economic system bear unconsciousness that make the value of care not the determining variable in socio-political economic reproduction? The ethnographic observation is used to dig up information and answer this question based on the consultation experience of Indonesian migrant workers facing up to their problem and being entangled in debt from moneylenders. The concept of survival value in Marxism is used as a platform to see Indonesian migrant workers' contractual relation with employer agency, and the state. The binary position of the state on the Indonesian migrant worker process of building awareness that the modern slavery system. Indonesian migrant workers is not seen as working class because domestic and women identities are reproduction of capitalistic masculine culture. Lacan provide a logical framework for dissecting the structural bandage of culture through the concept of symbol, imagination, reality, and symptom. Therefore, he fought to dismantle the sexualization of surplus value become a mean of breaking down the structure of modern slavery. The next slide, please. The introduction, I would like to divide into two sections. Next slide, please. And the first section is a research problem. As I already mentioned in the abstract, the economic contribution of the Indonesian migrant workers is very significant and certain for Indonesia. Indonesian migrant workers working in placement countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, and so on is very, from the perspective of economic, is very significant. And also from the Hong Kong as a country using the migrant domestic workers. But the value of care of the migrant domestic workers has not been seen as a determinant factor in economic growth, and migrant domestic workers still classified as second-class citizens. Indonesian migrant workers also did not get access to commercial bank in Hong Kong and are entangled in debt problem from various money lenders. Indonesian migrant workers in debt is to provide for themselves and send money to their families. Indonesian migrant worker is a source of money for the family. And some also, I have some thesis statement in my background of the article. Indonesian migrant workers is the foundation of their families to fulfill their daily needs, including social needs such as a donation for next birth, who are sick, diet, a wedding party, or other celebration. Daily consumption, both social and non-social, encourage Indonesian migrant workers to provide cash to send to their families. Based on a survey conducted by Experian and Enrich, it was found that among 5 migrant workers, one of them must be caught in a debt problem. The lack of basic knowledge on money management is one of the trigger for Indonesian migrant workers to solve financial problem by borrowing money from money lenders. Indonesian migrant workers are completely unaware that their identity as migrant worker has become a commodity on the money lender market, a hidden reality that has been pinned on Indonesian migrant workers as a pahlawan devisa or foreign exchange hero. Indonesian migrant worker remittance are only generated from their salaries as migrant domestic workers, but not much has been disclosed about how Indonesian migrant workers should struggle to escape the debt bandit cycle. Labeling as a foreign exchange hero has closed the deepest reality of Indonesian migrant workers' life that must earn money using the value of care and the body of work. Next slide, please. My proposal is that what I want to achieve, and there are 3 firstly, the further understand Indonesian migrant worker position as the place of mother in the capitalistic masculine economic system. Second one, to explore Indonesian migrant workers' unconsciousness in deciding to owe money lenders. And third, to explain how the capitalistic masculine economic system built unconsciousness that make the value of care not the determining variable in socio-political economic reproduction. Slide, the next slide, please. On the significance of the study. The concept of surplus value in Marxism is used as a platform to see Indonesian migrant workers' contractual relation with employer, agency, and the state. The binary position of residue the Indonesian migrant working process of building awareness to get out the modern slavery system. Indonesian migrant workers is not seen as working class because domestic and women identities are reproduction of capitalistic masculine culture. And the limitation of the study. Using the Marxism of framework is not enough to understand the root causes relating to the value of care and dependent among the Indonesian migrant workers. Lacan provides a logical framework for dissecting the structural dependence of culture through the concept of symbol, imagination, reality, and symptom. Therefore, effort to dismantle the sexualization of surplus value become a means of breaking down the structure of modern slavery. And the next slide, please. A review of the related literature. I divided on 4 highlights. The first highlight, the value of care can help mothers to save money every month around $150 US. Indonesian migrant workers work cannot yet be categorized as a formal job. The differentiation of informal and formal job is not a natural process, but the result of the capitalistic masculine system. And the second highlight, the division of labor between men and women places the position of women socially in the domestic sphere, while men work as breadwinners who are automatically placed in the formal sector. The division of labor makes women identical to the owner of the value of care compared to men, even though in reality, men also have the same. And the third highlight, labeling as a helper is not as professional as a body politics. That is also attached when the Indonesian migrant worker mentioned their identity. The social contribution, the social attribution of the value of care as home workers is a particular difficulty for Indonesian migrant workers to be categorized into the working class. And domestic worker cannot be seen as a job in general. This type of work is much more manipulation. And the fourth highlight, all workers, regardless of job category, when related to the capital, must experience total mystification. It is Marx framework is idea is very clear, I think. And the second one, the idea that domestic work is an invisible job is a social attribution that is naturally attached to women's bodies. This process is commonly referred to as a housekeeping. The next slide, please. And it's about the method, the methodology. The research participant, there are 3 research participants who what I would interview before. And the first is from the client of Help for Domestic Workers. And the second one is from the client of Enrich, and then a member of Voice of Migrant. And in the Voice of Migrant, I get involved very intensive with the friend of the Voice of Migrant organization. And the next slide, please. On project timeline, there are some very small type. The first one, I joined with the Help for Domestic Workers, and then it's about in the middle of the 2019, and then I faced many labor cases, especially from the Indonesian migrant workers who working in Hong Kong. And the phase 2, I joined with Enrich, having experience in assisting labor cases and providing financial counseling for Indonesian migrant workers who are affected by debt problem. And then the third phase, joined and contributed with the Voice of Migrant Hong Kong. I am involved intensively with Indonesian migrant workers friends to form an organization that aims to open a forum for Indonesian migrant workers to be empowered and protect themselves from the endless onslaught of the problem. And this, in the last, with the Peduli Kasih or Care and Charity Hong Kong, to encourage the creation of a care and charity philanthropic organization that care for Indonesian migrant workers who must suffer illness in Hong Kong. Next slide, please. How I collect the data. Step 1, I joined HEP, Enrich, and POM and Peduli Kasih. I met various cases that Indonesian migrant workers face and was involved in the whole process of cases assistance. And the step 2, I listened to take note and provide various solutions to Indonesian migrant workers who were experiencing the cases, especially through financial consultation for Indonesian migrant workers who were deep in debt bandits. I listened to stories and conducted in-depth interview with Indonesian migrant workers who are struggling to overcome various different problems they are experiencing. And step 3, I follow the development of the Indonesian migrant workers case by continuing to have conversation via WhatsApp, and in the same time, I had discussion with team members about the cases I was working on. From there, I got various points of view and opinion on the cases I was working on. From there, I did an analysis and recorded other stories about the Indonesian migrant worker debt cases that I am currently handling. The result, the part 4 is a result. This is a very, can I share my presentation, Mbak Nurma? It is, I cannot read this one. Can I share my own presentation?
Yes, I think you can share to us, but maybe you still have around 3 minutes if you want to wrap up or
yes,
presenting about your result findings and maybe conclusion. Yeah.
Okay. The qualitative result finding, and the first one, the value of care is naturally inherent in women's bodies as a form of resistance from the Marxist feminists who study domestic work. Housewifization is a product of the masculine capitalism system. And the second one, Marx explained very clearly that all commodities under the capitalist system are realized in 2 ways, namely value and exchange value. And that highlight the difficulty. The difficulty is first how to see the internal correlation between the concept of class and gender, and secondly, how to understand the difference between exploitation and oppression. Sexualization of surplus value is actually a modern form of slavery, because it can be seen with a certainty that Indonesian migrant workers give of self and body without a penny of effort to be an advantage for itself. This is the most brutal form of primitive accumulation. The class approach cannot be fully practiced in the work of labor of love, like the work on the Indonesian migrant workers. There must be a rigorous analysis and approach between gender and class analysis. So answering the debt bandit problem of Indonesian workers, female migrant workers in general, it is necessary to combine gender and class analysis as a unitary. Qualitative result for oppressive cultural dimension of the Indonesian migrant workers. The first symbol, it is related for foreign exchange hero and also contribution of foreign exchange earners. It is the symbol is related with the country or state. And two, imagination. Working in overseas has a lot of money. It is kind of part of prestige and feeling. And Indonesian migrant workers as a source of money, using the oppressive from the family. And the third, the reality, financial illiterate, think short and cannot measure themselves. And as the reality, just bind them agency and money lender to oppress the migrant domestic worker. And the fourth symptom, women and mothers, value of care and body of work, obey to employer, the request of children and husband. And the conclusion, uncover key research trend. There are actually no gender signifier in consciousness. Significant discovery, understanding of the problem. The unconscious become problematic for Indonesian migrant workers because the unconscious is actually a process of reproducing masculine capitalism that is embedded in Indonesian migrant workers through symbol, imagination, reality, and symptom that at the same time attach to Indonesian migrant workers as a women. Agreement and disagreement with a hypothesis. This article is a rebuttal to the argument that the concept and fact about the modern slavery do not exist. But when I attended the Labor Day commemoration action in 1 May 2019, Jaringan Buruh Migran Indonesia, Indonesian Migrant Workers Network, and various networks of migrant domestic workers organizations in Hong Kong loudly shouted that we are workers and not slaves. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mas Dedi. It's very interesting presentation, and I'm very critical about the condition of migrant workers. Maybe not only in Hong Kong, but it happens almost everywhere where women migrant workers, they are being seen as second-class workers if compared to the man migrant workers, even though they come from the same country. For example, man migrant worker from Indonesia, and then there is a women migrant worker, but they kind of have different class because they can only work in certain position where women mostly can only access domestic jobs as a domestic workers, and they are often being seen as an object belongs to the employers. It's kind of sad, especially maybe in Hong Kong. We can say that in Hong Kong they are having a better living condition or situation, but we often heard a lot of cases from the Middle East where they got a very bad treatment from the employers. Yeah, I think we will have interesting discussion about that issue later in the Q&A. And second, we will have a presentation from Yosa Melinda Marcia. She will be presenting about the impact of early marriage trends promoted by influencers in Indonesia towards child parade. I think it's very happening right now with the popularity of social media and especially Instagram influencer. A lot of youngsters, they got married early and then they become so famous, got a lot of followers. Yeah. So, but Yosa, if you are ready.
Yeah, can I use my own PowerPoints because I added some information as well from it?
Okay. Maybe the host give Mbak Yosa the permission to share her screen.
Okay. Can you see this one?
Yes, I can see, but it's still not in. Okay, it's in full presentation mode right now.
Okay, so should
Okay.
I start?
Yes, the screen is yours, Mbak Yosa.
Yeah, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yosha, and I am a master student for Goethe University. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you to UGM for holding this symposium on social science. And I am so honored to be part of the event. And today, my presentations will talk about the impact of early marriage trend promoted by influencers in Indonesia as I will scrutinizing the social depictions created by public figures or influencers that persuading the society where their audience revolves around the youth or teenager related to early marriage. In this case, social media influencers plays a very big role in influencing the mindset of Indonesians millennials or teenagers where they can decide impulsively to get married in very such a young age and live their future with a focus on their newlywed. So let's start from presentation outline. So I will start from the first backgrounds of the study where I will explain the compilations of adequate informations that is based on the analysis of the proposed argument. And the second is the methodology. This is an example of the way research was carried out. And the third, the findings about the research. And last is the conclusions of the topic. So about the backgrounds of the study, I found it that recently the early marriage seems becoming a trend in Indonesia, as it comes from my personal experience and social observations. Meanwhile, in another perspective, it's also raised the number of child marriage, where child marriage is always have been a persistent issues in Indonesia. So in this research, I will use the content analysis as well, and also we'll talk about the new regulations about Marriage Act Law number 16, which is, it explained that has raised the age minimum of girls that can be married with parental permission from 16 to 19 years old. And this is which is in line for the age for boys, which is also 19. Now we move to the methodology sections. In this research, instead of using the social observations, also using the qualitative descriptive. So I'm taking some data from social media such as YouTube, Instagram, and online media with news that is relevant to the topic, and then analyze the data. Then I create the conclusions out of this research. So maybe we can start from the very first object that I actually observed. What is the influencers means actually? So as far as the research that I found from reliable sources, influencer is people who have built a reputation for their knowledge and expertise on a specific topic. They created a content on their preferred social media channels such as YouTube and Instagram, which is also why I'm focusing on these two social media as well as my research sources. And then this account is engaged with people who has same interests as them and pay attention to their point of views. Influencers could perceive and influence society across different types of community and even encourage its follower or fans to do the same thing that they thought it was a positive behavior, in which viewers of their content mostly admire the actions and would even mimic and do what their influencers do. So as everyone see in this PowerPoint, I'm taking these three accounts of recently is a famous social media influencers that has been aggressively, passively promoting early marriage in Indonesia. First of all is Gerakan Nikah Muda, or in English we can call it early marriage movement. This is this account is created campaign that encourage the people to marry at such a young age. And the second is Indonesia Tanpa Pacaran, which is we can say it in English is like Indonesia without dating community. This community is encouraged the young Indonesians or the millennials to skip dating and go straight to marriage. And the last is this couple is recently quite been talked about in the early 2020. Adiguna and Sabrina Sosiawan, a social media influencer couple. And this actually been famous by the controversy by Slam for Toting Child Marriage, where this couple created a series of YouTube videos related to their marriage life. At the time when they married, Adiguna, the husband, was 25 and Sabrina was 16 years old, where they married a month before the regulations of law number 16 was actually released. And this has caused a stir on social media because they're allegedly endorsing child marriage, with user expressing their concerns over the couple showing the illicit practice in public. And then why the trends of early marriage become concerning. So this type of social media influencers has raised my personal concerns regarding the future of Indonesian children and the youth, who describe marriage as looking like a such goal towards happiness, while in real life is marriage simply is not that easy. And this is also encouraged the teenage or even that still categorized as a child wants to get married as soon as possible as they're falling in love or meet their opposite sex. But don't get me wrong, it's like I'm not saying that falling in love in such a young age is bad, but how these people see the youngsters seeing love is different in different way is why that I concerns. This is also why I take some data from Susanas from timeline 2014-2018, the trends in the marriage of girls in Indonesia that has married before the age of 18 years old. So if you can see, this has showing a decrease in the period 2014 and 18, but the decline is still categorized as slow. As you can see on 2016, 2018, the marriage under 18 years old is increasing during this period for 0.62% in rural area, where mostly the underage marriage mostly occur either due to economic reasons, pregnancy before marriage, or cultural reasons. There's a lot of factors that actually affect to this data. And at the same time, in the urban area, the marriage rate is also increased from 2016 and 2017. So even though in 2018 is starting to decrease. And the coincidence is in terms of this influencer started Gerakan Nikah Muda and Indonesia Tanpa Pacaran was also found during this period. This community encouraged each other to skip the wonders of dating life, which is they thought like this is sinful according to some interpretations of the religion's teaching, and head straight to holy matrimony when they are not ready, when they are ready, which in some case they are not ready if you're talking about the cultural reasons or pregnancy before marriage. So I will attach the following campaigns where they was posted in 2020, somewhere around January or March. The first post was writing about getting married as part of showing your worship toward God. Then by starting it must be with the intentions of worship as well. And the second post is if you care enough for your future, so stay away from dating before it's too late. So I'm taking the screenshots of this post in Indonesia Tanpa Pacaran, and the Gerakan Menikah Muda is also posting this one. And in all seriousness though, Indonesia Tanpa Pacaran has been heavily criticized in the past by people accusing the movement of being a cash grab taking advantage of gullible young conservatives. There are also concerns that the movement, which has members predominantly in their teens and early 20s, will normalize young and underage marriage involving people who might not be mentally, economically, or even physically ready for a serious life commitment. I also attached the comment sections in this post where mostly the reactions of the audience is on positive feedback and put hopes that one day they will get married in such a young age and hoping the soulmates will come very soon. So it's words in Indonesians, but I can translate like one posting from Neta Ferbia, and it says that I hope the miracles will come. And the other one is from Janat Mitaful, and they thought like she's praying, and I hope I can find my soulmates very soon. However, you know, in another side, the divorce rate in Indonesia in the periods of 4 years from 2015 always increased from year to year. I probably not mentioned on this data presentations, but in my paper in 2016, divorce rate of minors reached 11,126 cases, where I found this statement from the articles that I read before from Sri Murni from University of 70 August. She said that the divorce rate is quite higher in 2016. So this shows that so far many underage marriage or early marriage end in divorce, because basically early marriage in practice has more negative effects than positive effects. Well, basically, in general, many factors that contribute to the cause of underage marriage are religious factors, cultural factors, social, and legal factors. And not to stop there, I would like to attach the last influencers that part of this campaign, like supporting the early marriage. The ones that I've been saying that this one has most talk about in early 2020. So if you see on the right side, the photo was showing both of them using high school uniform, and as if showing even though you are still studying, you still can get married. And they also have one of the YouTube that I also captures, like they have 1 million views in 3 months. Reasons by the reasons for getting married at 16 years old. So at their social media, there's a number of Instagrammers actually have expressed the admirations for these young couples, and seemingly idyllic marriage. In the comment below of the YouTube comment is like has expressed in the admirations. They even several teenager users have commented that they were following in the couple's footsteps and were due to marry to significantly older men. So, for example, in the second comment sections, it's like they said that makes me more believe that I believe in destiny of God, and I hope good and bad is always happening and always have a mean in behind of it, and they hope they will find a soulmate as soon as possible, and they even supporting and hoping this couple will be like forever in real life. So this is what a concerning, because the young millennials are more prone to be exposed into the ideas of marriage, sort of like its life achievement. As I put on the side of writing, this has the recent case of the effect on how social media romanticizing child marriage. So this picture is show the 15 years old girl and a 14 years old boy posing together as a bride and groom. The photo was taken at a village in South Kalimantan province of Indonesia. The two teenagers, and behind of this story, as like were married after they met at a night market. So from here we can see how big the influence of the social media influencer once they romanticize the idea of early marriage that looks a very life goal and such an achievement. This will also affect the mental of the youth and how this perspective will affect their future. And is the government doing something to tackle the issue? Yes, governments actually issuing the new regulations in 2019, and in September, they released the new regulations regarding the minimum age for women that increased from 16 years old to 19. So there is no discriminations anymore. As it goes, the government goal is to curb the child bride with the hope of raising the minimum legal age for marriage to 19 years old provides more opportunities for girls to finish high school before they tie the knot. But is raising the minimum age for marriage enough for Indonesia to put an end to child rights? The answer is no, because there are several factors that needs to be supported of this case, from education, providing access to formal educations, educating youth on reproductive health and rights, promoting gender equality as grassroots level. So even though we have a minimum age of marriage, Indonesia also have this regulations about marriage dispensations, which is a system of exceptions stipulated under the marriage law, where people still can obtain a legalizations of marriage from the state under the marriageable law. And study in 2019 showing why parents ask for dispensations for their daughter to marry in East Java and rural area, for example, West Sulawesi, West Java, East Java, in Mamuju, Bogor, and West Java. It shows that the parents seek permissions to marry the daughters before the legal age because they worry their children will commit adultery, especially when their children are in relationship. So it comes to the conclusions that this case is between the influencers, how they affect how they affect the mindsets of the people is interrelated indirectly. So the very biased depictions by social media influencers regarding marriage life affect the child perspective on marriage and impulsively movements by deciding to get married at such a young age. And also, in my conclusion, raising the minimum age of marriage has not reduced the number of child marriage, since the substance of the changes only focus on the age of marriage itself. So it's not on regulating and anticipating the consequences that might occur in the futures after the child is married. Because child marriage is a multifaceted issue that requires concerted efforts from various sectors. And national state strategy that covers all of this issue will better help reduce the numbers of child marriage in Indonesia. And also, last to be mentioned, the viewers of the content of the influencers is also need to be watched over too, because we need to save the futures of Indonesians young women. It's not only women, but also the child itself. So I think that is all from my presentations. Thank you for the times and your attentions. And yes, I don't know how to go back to the.
Okay, thank you so much for Miss Yosha. It's very interesting case right now because almost every of us, we have a lot of social media from Instagram, Twitter, and then we also watch YouTube quite a lot, and it's kind of also sad also because in Indonesia, kids from age 6 or 7, they have access to smartphone and they can make their social media account, sometimes faking their age requirements so they can portray themselves older. So yeah, I think it's very interesting case, and we already have 2 questions here, but we will discuss that in the Q&A session. And the next one, we will have Ms. Sri Penny Wastutingse and 2 other of her colleague Ratih Inikiwati and Titis Puspitasari. They will be presenting about the empowerment of women based on improving family economic resistance in Giriharjo. Dear the team, the screen is yours. You can start when you are ready. Okay.
So
is okay. Who will be presenting? Bu Titis? Or because I couldn't hear your voice. Okay, Bu Titis, or do you have any issue? Hello, are you ready for the presentation, or we should switch to the other presenter? Because I couldn't hear your voice at all. Okay. Okay. It's great now.
Sorry. Maybe that have a problem.
Okay.
I will to present, or maybe I will to send to host maybe.
Do you need the host to present your PPT, or are you going to do it by yourself?
Host maybe.
Okay, maybe the host can help.
Yes, I will to send the host. Okay. In processing, I'm sorry for waiting it. Okay, we'll send it.
Okay.
Okay. Or
okay, the host, can you access the document and help with the presentation? You can also unmute yourself to make the coordination much easier. Oh, so the host haven't received any PPT. Maybe while we are waiting for the PPT from Ms. Titis, we can switch to other presenter first. Is it okay, Ms. Titis? Okay.
It's okay. No problem. I'm sorry for waiting.
It's okay. So the next one, we will have Made Sania Saraswati from Yayasan Kopernik Indonesia. If I'm not mistaken, it's an organization based in Bali. If I'm wrong, you can correct me later. She has a presentation about the leveraging locally reusable menstrual pads to improve menstrual health management in East Nusa Tenggara, the Perfect Fit initiative. I think the host can help with the pre-recording presentation of Miss Sania.
Okay, I guess the presentation can just start then with the pre-recorded session one. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Made Sania Saraswati. You can call me Sania. I'm from Kopernik, and I'm here today to present to you about my paper with the title Leveraging Locally Reusable Menstrual Pads to Improve Menstrual Health in East Nusa Tenggara, the Perfect Fit initiative. Managing a healthy menstruation is a global challenge. Inadequate sanitation facilities, lack of access to menstrual products, and limited source of information on this topic are a few challenges that we are still facing. Access to information was limited as menstruation is deemed as a taboo topic in many countries, including Indonesia. In 2015, there were 6 million girls in Indonesia who had menarche, the first menstruation, but they had never discussed menstruation with anyone beforehand. This lack of information resulted in unnecessary fear, perpetuating myths, and improper menstrual hygiene management, such as the use of unsanitary facilities or products. This could result in reproductive health problems, including reproductive tract infections, urinary tract infections, and vaginal discharge. The Perfect Fit initiative was established in 2018 to open up dialogue on menstruation and improve knowledge on menstrual health and sexual and reproductive health rights, or SRHR, through the introduction of reusable sanitary pads. This project was initiated by Ayo Indonesia, Copernic, and Simavi. My colleague Tungga Putri and I, who authored this paper, are a part of the Perfect Fit project members from Copernic. The reusable pads were made by women in Ruteng, East Nusa Tenggara, using locally available materials to provide an affordable price and leverage local resources in the community. Ruteng was chosen as the intervention area because access to sanitary pads and information on menstrual health were limited, but also because it was voted as one of the dirtiest towns in the province. In this 18-month project, we studied the impact that Perfect Fit reusable pads had on menstrual health and SRHR knowledge of our survey respondents in the area, with a baseline and a line study. In this paper, we wanted to know how did the Perfect Fit initiative influence female understanding and attitudes toward menstruation. In providing analysis of the project influence, we primarily used data from the baseline and inline study conducted as part of the initiative. The baseline study was conducted at the beginning of the project, April 2018, to 150 adolescents, aged 10 to 19, and adult women, aged 20 to 59, and followed up with an inline study at the end of the project, which was in September 2019, using a mixed method approach. Quantitative data was obtained from survey questionnaires with topics ranging from menstrual hygiene knowledge, attitude towards menstrual health, and health-seeking behavior. For the qualitative data, we organized focus group discussions with 3 groups of all-girl students and 2 groups of adult women to gain insights about the changes experienced by respondents. Additional findings were obtained from our observation during the program implementation. To enrich our analysis, we also conducted a literature review of previous studies related to menstrual health, particularly in Indonesia, and on the theory of agency. The Perfect Fit initiative uses the term menstrual health when referring to our work as well as menstruation, as this term describes both menstrual hygiene practices and the broader interventions that link menstruation to health, well-being, gender, education, equality, and empowerment and rights. Statistics in Indonesia showed that only 31% of young women aged 15 to 24 know about their fertile period, and 52% know about the risk of pregnancy from one instance of sexual intercourse. This number is even lower for young men. Only 19% know about a woman's fertile period, and 51% know about the risk of pregnancy. In East Nusa Tenggara, there are many middle and high school students who do not fully understand menstruation management. Practices such as burying, burning, and disposal in the toilet of used sanitary pads have become major environmental issues. In the context of menstrual hygiene, a study by Simavi in 2017 documented challenges faced by women and girls in Flores, with one of them being the lack of access to sanitary pads, which led to their interest in access to alternative menstrual products such as reusable pads. Reusable pads absorb menstrual blood in a way that is similar to disposable sanitary pads. However, they can be washed and used again. To understand how Perfect Fit works in providing access to alternative menstrual products and knowledge to the community, we are using the agency theory as an analysis tool. Sewell's argument on agency defined that agency occurs when someone is able to consciously desire something, and in this context, is able to create a change in where the actor lives. Agency can be analyzed because the act is different from what people usually do in their daily life. Here, intention plays a big role in differentiating agency from routine practice. Simply put, change is possible when the actor has agency. In analyzing the baseline and inland findings, we begin by mapping three aspects that play a big role in agency and analyze each of these aspects: actors, creativity, and intentionality. Actors in these projects are those who have gone through processes of learning new knowledge during the 18-month period of the project. They are students and women that the team met throughout the project implementation, 12 tailors, also 148 distributors. We can say that they are the main actors that have creativity, referring to what Sewell said. These actors have the capacity to apply and extend their learnings from the project's activities to the local context. From the baseline and inland study respondents, we found a significant increase was observed in terms of menstrual health knowledge, where 45% of the respondents stated that they had no restrictions imposed on them during menstruation. This finding indicates the emergence of intention in the actor's life. In our educational outreach, we disseminated knowledge to encourage discussion around menstruation and debunked a range of myths that they had been exposed to, replaced with fact-based knowledge. This process seemed to instill new levels of their knowledge, so consciously or unconsciously, they would begin to apply them in their lives, or indicate that they have the intention to do so. We also found contrasting findings where there was an increase of 15% in the belief that it was necessary to take time off during menstruation, despite the initiative advocating that women and girls were able to continue normal daily activities during menstruation. We assume that it occurred as a result of menstruation discussions among our respondents, during which they shared their typical menstruation behavior. The discussion process is also a part of the actor's creative ways in transposing the schemes. This finding may also indicate that they manifested their knowledge in other ways that we did not expect, as the actors have more courage to state that they need time off during menstruation. Actors' creativity and intentionality can be seen more clearly from other positive results. When we post whether, quote, males should not see the cloth or pad that females use to manage their period, unquote, we noted a positive increase of 12% respondents feeling less shame around their menstruation. It could be that they saw menstruation no longer as a taboo, but rather a natural process that should be discussed with their peers and family, claiming agency to change their environment. Additionally, we encountered male involvement in the initiative from the tailors and pad distributors. Among the 12 tailors, we found that 2 of the top-performing tailors received assistance from their husbands in producing the pads. For the pad distributors, we recruited not only women, but also several men who were some of the top-achieving distributors. The organic involvement of men indicated the start of normalizing discussion around menstruation in Ruteng. Another finding came from the tailors and pad distributors' intention to have another source of income in producing and distributing the perfect fit pads. In this component, we need to mention a little about improving economic livelihoods as one of their intentions, as we also provided training about marketing and distribution methods. Intention can occur in various forms, and in one community, or at least under the same scope of the beneficiary group, there must be various kinds of intention that ultimately depend on each other, on each actor, I mean. In the inland study, we found that there was an increase of 18% respondents agreeing to see menarche as an indication that a person has come of age for marriage. Menarche was believed to be celebrated, commonly among the rural communities, as it was seen to be a girl's turning point in becoming a woman. This cultural belief could lead to assumption that the newly matured woman is available for marriage, subtly emphasizing that a woman's body rights were not dictated by herself. It indicates the importance of further efforts to clarify that even though a woman is able to conceive post-menarche, it does not mean that she is ready for marriage or to bear a child. To conclude, in this 18-month project, the respondents' knowledge and attitude towards menstruation were improved across several aspects, including separating myths from facts and increased bodily integrity. Knowledge transfer among peers, both among adolescents or adults, was more likely to influence an individual's perspective. Locally made reusable pads provide ways to open discussion around menstruation, as well as ways to improve economic livelihood, especially for the tailors and distributors. Feeling less ashamed about their menstruation is a starting point to trigger agency in an individual in changing their attitude towards menstruation and eventually lead to accepting this topic in everyday discussion. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome you to get in touch with me and Tungga in a further discussion on normalizing menstruation in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you so much for Ms. Sania for the interesting presentation about the menstrual health issue in East Nusa Tenggara. It was around 2 years ago when I was like, I'm sorry for my ignorance, like 2 years ago, the first time I knew about the period poverty term. And yeah, I think in a lot of places, women, their needs, as they are still need to trade their needs between their daily needs and buying menstrual pad. And for us, in like women in the city are women who are more lucky financially. We sometimes, we often didn't or never consider how bad the effects of menstrual pad, single-use menstrual pad for our environment. So it's a very interesting initiative, and also there is a really great result of the initiative. We will have a discussion in the next section, the Q&A, but now we need to come back to Miss Titis. Okay, she will be presenting her research. Okay, Miss Titis, you can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry for some problem before.
Okay.
I will presenting about empowerment of women based on improving family economic resistance in Giriharjo. Next.
Next. Okay.
Okay. This is Giriharjo village in Panggang, Gunung Kidul Regency, Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta. Next, please. Why we implement community development in there? Women in karst mountain regions such as Gunung Kidul Regency usually depend their life on agriculture sector. So they will experience about economic difficulty when the vulnerability in kekeringan. However, it is different from women who are in Banyumenang to Hamlet, Giriharjo village, Panggang district, Gunung Kidul Regency, Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, who are member of local food processing group BM Kompak. This group producing about ingredients of banana, all about banana, produce several products including various chips, banana leaves extract, and banana flour mass. The emergence of local food process women group was present by desire to improve the level of the family economic. BM Compact have 2 years received guidance from Directorate of Community Service Universitas Gadjah Mada through community service based community development team. Next, please. In Giriharjo Village, Panggang District Gunung Kidul Regency Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta is an attractive village with local food potential that can be explored further and with disaster vulnerability in this region. In 2018, exploration of local food potential was carried out Banyumanang 1, 2, 3, Hamlet, Giriharjo Village with banana raw materials with were not susceptibility to drought. There are vulnerability with drought disaster. In 2019, exploration will be carried out in Panggang 1, 2, and 3 Hamlet, Giriharjo Village with cassava and melinjo raw materials, which are often kept during the high season. The initial conclusion of the drought disaster vulnerability research in Banyumanang 1 Hamlet has high vulnerability with Banyumanang 2 and 3 Hamlet has moderated vulnerability. One sector that can be developed in this sector is local food business group under the name GR Compact in the before BM Compact. This is a group made by a lot of women. There have like a farmer maybe. There are a local food business group in Giriharjo Village which was initiated 2018 BM Compact and 2018 with K-pop in Giriharjo in the Panggang 1, 2, and 3 Hamlet. The direction of the development related to local food at a village potential is optimizing resource as well as sharing experience and ideas between communities from Banyumanang 1, 2, and 3 Hamlet to the community in Panggang 1 until 3 to be a K-pop group like this. Optimization of local resource by using existing internet in the future will create sustainability development for the community. Next, please. This research method uses descriptive qualitative with data quality collection, through observation, and in-depth interview. Data were analyzed using long-way analysis, or commonly called woman development criteria, which consists of 5 dimensions of empowerment. Next, please. This result discussion is there were welfare dimension appear from an increase in income to fulfillment of basic family needs and the emergence of saving. In the access dimension, in this form marketing assistance facilities, they use digital technology with Instagram at BM_Compact and website at grcompact.com and training to increase production capacity. The critical situation dimension is shown by existence of gender equality in family. There are a lot of time to be performed in the family as before there are not have a lot of time for this. The participation dimension is shown by the participation of women in decision making in the family related to meeting needs. And the power dimension can be seen from the emergence of equality between husband and wife, is which there are no dominating condition in stabilizing the family economic resilience. Next, please. And this conclusion, the emergence of women empowerment activities in the strike line help improve family economic resilience. Maybe this is for me. Thank you for the attention and thank you for your time. I will back to Miss Nurma. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Titis, for the presentation about the women empowerment in Gunung Kidul. It's very interesting. I think currently a lot of programs from universities are directed to Gunung Kidul. And yeah, previously when I was in the undergraduate school, undergraduate university in UGM, I also did kind of empowerment program also in Gunung Kidul. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure there will be a lot of interesting story. And for all participants and panelists, that's the end of our presentation session. And then we will have question and answer or discussion session. So far, we already have 2 questions. All of them are for Miss Yosha, but if you all the participants and also panelists have more question or have another question directed to the other panelists, please do write in the chat, or later you can raise your hand and ask directly to the panelists. But first, for Ms. Yosha, you can start to answer those questions first.
Yeah, so the first questions is from Ibu Yohan. That the question is like, do this social media as Magdalene lawan Partyaki, Kalis Mardiasi, which is also like famous activist to like fighting this child marriage, or like also composing like before marriage you have to be ready. So your question is like, this influencer is also making a significant influence to discouraging the youth to commit early marriage or not. I also noticed recently that there are also other several accounts, not only limited to those online news that mentions above. And now they start to reach the millennial through Instagram, YouTube, and as far as I research, those accounts is effectively affect the youth to commit early marriage. But as much as those effectiveness affect the youth mindset or educate them, there are still other factors that cannot to be avoided, such economic reasons and culture. So I can't really say how significant the effect, since this might need further research. But this, this account is one of a good step for longer periods in changing and educating the mindset of the youth. So I think this also correlate the diverse phenomenon in Indonesia among the immigrants worker in Hong Kong, like the ones that I will answer soon after this. And yeah, I think the answers for Yuan that's the only thing that I can say. So if there's any other maybe wants to add for these questions?
Actually, dear Ms. Yosha, I'm also very interested in the issue of digital and social media, also influence to the public. It's that you mentioned before that there are also other accounts or influencers that they actually counter their argument and ask people, especially the youngster, to delay marriage and be ready first. Yeah, but do you identify like what's the difference between those two groups? Why the pro to early marriage are kind of more popular or more having a wider audiences, like especially among the youngster, like teenagers. I think I saw some of those accounts, like the people that comments, they are like high schoolers, like teenagers, and they start thinking about marriage. So it's kind of like, yeah, mind blowing, like for me. Okay.
So far as I research the factors, is there's two factors that encourage these people, the teenagers, wants to follow these accounts, like romanticizing the marriage instead of the one who's like say no. Because the first is religion factors, that most of them, I don't really want to get into the sections because it's what a little bit like sensitive factors. Like they say, like if you're like Muslim, you have to avoid, as I mentioned in the presentations before, you have to avoid dating because it's like sinful. So they thought like they have this feeling humans cannot avoid this feeling. It's just like physical and psychology sections that you cannot tell them to say no to this. So that's why they distract their mindset to find this type of these influencers, and that's become their like more encouraged and fantasizing about the future is going to be like. And the second one is social pressure from the parents and culture. It affects so much from why this type of influencers is more effective to the youngsters, because by years, by the environments, they also have this viewing this type of putting in their mind that you have to get married earlier, otherwise you're gonna be like old maids, and they scared of that fear. And this is why these influencers that actually most of them is showing the romanticizings of the early marriage is more popular than the one who say no's to the millennials. So that's the findings that I found recently once I actually doing this research. And so I will answer the second questions probably.
Yeah.
And it says that can we say that early marriages also contribute to the deciding of a young woman become a migrant workers? And also he said,
is there any correlation between early marriage and becoming migrant workers? Something like that.
I tried to find the article before, because we also in our university we used to discuss this related about the young migrants workers. So I can say that early marriage also contribute to the young woman in rural area, which is most of the migrant workers come from. And the economy reason is one of the top factors of early marriage in rural area. And the second is pregnancy and cultures, also taking part in increasing the numbers of the migrant workers. Like it's not limited to women; it's also like a man who wants to be a migrant worker because they feel like the need. Since they get married in such a young age, they have kids to feed. The needs of the family is getting bigger, so some of them is choose to be migrant workers, and not limited to Hong Kong, but also Singapore, the closest one. Malaysia, or most chosen destinations amongst the migrant worker is Middle Eastern, Saudi Arabia, for example. And this has also become another polemic, as they leave their family, they don't feel adequate to their partner, for example, since each one of them, the income is bigger, and they thought like they have more power than the other partners. And this is where the educations of gender's roots is work. Like they need more educations based on these cultures. Like it's not about the income who is bigger than you have the power, but it's part of the balancings. And that's also actually it's affected, but not really significantly affect the divorce amongst the workers, the migrant workers. And from these factors, that's what I can say from this.
Okay, thank you to Ms. Yosa. I think it's relatively, and I think it's pretty clear about the correlation of the problem. Or maybe if Mas Dedi still have question related to migrant issue, or maybe I will ask a question to Mas Dedi, if you are still there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's from your presentation, it seems that the problem that surrounding the migrant workers are kind of both cultural and also structural. It's not only in Indonesia as their, but also in their destination countries like abroad. But like what can be done by maybe in the government of Indonesia to help or to reduce the burden of women migrant worker, or to make their condition better, especially in their destination country.
Yeah. Okay. As long as I know about the service, quote unquote, from the state, from the government, based on our research, my research and observation related with the service of the Consulate of Consulate General of Republic Indonesia in Hong Kong, it is quite enough better. The staff and the KJRI Hong Kong provide the information and also to disseminate the important information related with the law, related with the policies, etc. But it is not enough for the Indonesian migrant workers in the receiving country like Hong Kong, that how to improve their capacity and confidence as a women to get access to the what's that? What do you call it? The basic information and the basic right, something like that. I always met with the many cases that many migrant workers in Indonesia, Indonesian migrant workers in Hong Kong, it's still feeling pressure and anxiety to expose themselves to react under many problems. So it is very important to make a program to speak up for them, but not just speak up about the cases, but also to speak up for their right. It is also the influence of the Hong Kong is actually Hong Kong is very freedom space for the organization, but until the security law, the problem with security law is we are waiting for the next situation after the security law happen in Hong Kong. But the organization, many organizations in migrant workers, Indonesian migrant workers in Hong Kong is still affiliation with the religion activities, not with the right activities, or not discuss about the how to improve their capacity in terms of the economic system, in terms of the what do you call it, as a women to become more confident and not oppressed by the system, something like that. It's still a long process, I think. So, of course, the PP2ME as a part of the government, as a PP2ME has a mandate to improve the Indonesian migrant worker, but not enough just to disseminate the information and some so on. But how to get involved? How to get involved from the start until the end of the placement of the Indonesian migrant workers? I think it is still the process of how to find a good solution and protection for the Indonesian migrant worker in Hong Kong. I hope that is answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Mas Dedi. Yeah, I think you highlighted the importance of education and knowledge about the basic rights of workers and also women workers when they work for domestic places or domestic housing. I think it's a basic, but oftentimes a lot of the agents in Indonesia who recruited them, they don't explain that correctly or fully, or maybe they never explain about that before sending those workers to approach. Yeah, I think that's one of huge homework for the government to make sure that everyone get their knowledge, basic knowledge and education before going to a new world that maybe they don't even speak fully the language. Yeah. If anyone have question, please you can raise your hand. You can ask to any of the panelists. If not, I will ask. Maybe actually, it's more, I want to know more of the stories about the initiative by Copernic in East Nusa Tenggara, because yeah, I find it's very interesting, like to introduce the more sustainable sanitary pads to the community there, because even in here, like I found a lot of people, they are still reluctant, women, they are reluctant to change from their regular single-use sanitary pads to more reusable, more that can be used a lot of time. So what's the challenge just that you face when first introducing this sanitary pad or this program in a whole? Because I don't know, maybe like the culture is quite different, and then how to introduce this, maybe like if I imagine that using this reuse, like sanitary that can be used a lot of time, you need to do extra work, like you can't just throw it out after using it, but you need to pack it, you need to clean it. It's like more work for a lot of people. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Nurma. So before I have introduced myself properly, I'm Sania, and as Mbak Nurma mentioned, I'm from Copernic. We are a non-government organization, a non-profit organization, you may say. We are based in Bali, but our work has taken place around Indonesia, even to Kenya, Myanmar, and also Japan. And to talk more about the Perfect Fit initiative, we were, to say, Simavi, our partner organization, who focus on wash and also not just sanitation, but also more on the women health issue. So Simavi first in 2017 conducted a research, and they found out that because sanitary pads, the disposable sanitary pads are having a very low price, but then you need to, sorry for the background noise. So the disposable sanitary pads, you need to buy it again and again every month. And even though it only costs like 8,000 or 10,000 rupiah, but eventually it costs you quite a lot of money. And also another thing to mention is that it resulted in menstrual waste that we don't have the facility to manage such waste in Indonesia, let alone in the rural areas of Indonesia. So we were thinking to give an alternative menstrual product that can be reused, so it's more sustainable for the environment. And also there are, I think, a study by Yayasan Perlindungan Konsumen in Indonesia that mentioned several disposable sanitary pads that has chlorines. So it is not easy and it's not friendly for man body, and it causes itchy, it causes irritations, let's say. And so we thought to have a reusable pad instead. And why we don't choose a menstrual cup, it's because we look at the habit of women in Ruteng, in Manggarai Barat. They are not used to having something inserted to their vagina. So it's not in their culture, and it requires a very heavy behavioral change to ask them to change to menstrual cup. So we thought that the reusable menstrual pads made from fabric, and it is the most suitable and practical one. Where we want this reusable menstrual pads to be a tool, a key tool in opening discussion in the community itself. So imagine that I am someone from outside of the area and I want to say, oh, okay, let's talk about menstruation. And then you just come to a school, you just come to arisan groups, and I don't think it's gonna work like that. But if we have something like a prototype, then we can easily introduce them to open up about such topic, like even menstruation, and also their thoughts, their attitude towards it, and how they feel during the menstruation itself. And I guess that's the history of Perfect Fit initiative. So in 2018, we started the one in Ruteng, but now we are already expanding to Labuan Bajo. So I would say we are slowly opening up discussions about menstruation in East Nusa Tenggara. And I hope it answers your question, Bu Nurma.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Tania. It's a very interesting explanation about how Copernic started the program and choosing the approach. Also, they chose something that close to the existing habits of the local, and also choosing local people to work in the project to prevent or minimize resistance. Yeah. And it's very great that in the East Indonesia, there are more initiatives to be more environmentally friendly, and also it has impact on their economic capacity development, because there are now producers and also people who sell this reusable pads, and I hope that there will be more benefits for the people there. And then we have another question here for Mas Dedi from Yuan Ade. There is one question about if there is a pattern of sexualization of surplus value that affecting women migrant worker in other countries than Hong Kong, for example, in Malaysia or in Saudi, or maybe is there any, or what's kind of the differences maybe?
Yes, thank you for this very important question. I don't know about the other countries, for instance, Malaysia, Saudi, and etc. But maybe there is another model. But specifically in Hong Kong, why
I raised about the problem about the sexualization of surplus value, and it is linked or relate with the debt bandits among the Indonesian migrant workers in Hong Kong, because of the regulation to borrowing the money in Hong Kong is very easy. So Indonesian migrant worker is very have a special, what's that? Special chain or opportunity to borrow or to owe the money from the money lender. It's kind of, maybe this is, I guess that it is the government of Hong Kong like to use the Indonesian migrant workers or migrant domestic workers generally to what's that, to revolving the money in Hong Kong. So it's very easy. The condition, if you want to borrow the money to the money lender, is very easy. So in many regions that the Indonesian migrant worker or many women went to Hong Kong, it's because of the financial reason. But in fact, they have a many big problem with the financial issue by borrowing the money from the money lender. But the cases is like a circle, something like that. And in some cases, I found that they cannot, they cannot solve the problem and give up how to solve the problem of the financial issue. And some cases also they decided to switch side. It is very horrible story among them about this. So I don't know, maybe in Malaysia, in Saudi Arabia, there is also like a debt bonded about of how the Indonesian migrant workers there also borrowing the money from the money lender or from the agency or from the what do you call it, employers, another employer. I think this Hong Kong, because of the free trade or laissez-faire system, so everyone can borrow the money. But it is it's very bad stories among the Indonesian migrant workers. They do not understand about the regulation of the money. It is very clear in Hong Kong that ordinance from the contract or from the Indonesian migrant worker or domestic migrant domestic worker is very clear, but the regulation about them how to borrow the money is not clear, and this is very important of to educate them how to manage the money, how to to financial literacy generally for them, because yes, you know, it's very easy to borrow the money, and then just send to Indonesia, but and their family, they don't know about where the money come, and they struggle to fight to solve the money to go out from the cycle of the debt bandit, something like that. I don't know where. Maybe yes, maybe in Saudi Arabia, Malaysia is the same system, but I don't know. But in Hong Kong, it's very transparent and clear. It's very I can underline it's not unfair for the Indonesian migrant worker or migrant domestic worker, is because laissez-faire It is just one big model. Can you imagine that the many women from the village in Indonesia, and suddenly that they can borrow the money is very easy, and to make it's very much. Let's say about the until 2 billion until 100 billion. Is it a big money for the women from the village in Indonesia? But how to give back the money to the money lender is the another problem. This is what I mean with the sexualization of surplus value. That the body of the Indonesian migrant workers, their identity exchange with the money lender to borrow the money. Hope that I can answer Yuan Ati clearly. Thank you.
Okay, there is a response from Yuan Ade. He quite understand about that. But before, I'm very sorry because there is a boss right next to my place. So, and there is the sounds of Quran recitating. So maybe I have kind of quite a lot of background sound. But Miss Titis, she already left because she had another meetings. If any other participants still have question, please, you can ask right now. But if not, I will close the session because it's already the time. The time are almost up. But first, let me to wrap up a bit to summarize this session. That what I can get from a lot of presentations today is that women, they are facing problems, which actually some of them are basics like the sanitary pads, but also a lot. There are also a lot of problems caused by more systemic and more cultural condition that needs intervention from the country, such as the when we talk about the immigration, migrant, and also need the role of non-government organization, such as what Copernic has been doing in Nusa Tenggara, and we hope further this kind of initiative will flourish, and maybe with the use of technology, because technology is double sword, it has double side that we can use for a good intention, but also bad campaigns. We can in the future that we hope there are more good use of technology for the benefit of the community. And before closing this session, the coordinator actually asked me to take a picture with everyone. So please turn on your camera because the host will take a screen capture of this Zoom meeting. I will count to 3, and the host, please, you can take. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this panel session. I'm very sorry for my background sound. because I calculated that the Maghrib, the Azan will be like 10 minutes. We will have around at least 5 minutes, but turn out they decided to run the cassette of Quran recitation. I'm so sorry. And on behalf of the coordinator of the event, I will want to apologize if there is any mistake or any problem from our side, including the technical problem. We are very sorry, and we hope that everyone will be in a good condition, especially during these hard COVID times anywhere. And thank you for all the participation and all your attention during this session. See you and we see you next time. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, terima kasih.